Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and this is Geopolitics this week on Conversations. And dear friends, today we are going to talk about several issues. As you are familiar, we live in a world where geopolitics has intensified primarily because I think of the dismantling of globalization that is taking place, and also because we are in a moment where the international and global system is a bit more destabilized. Usually, there are less chances of change happening in systems which are very stabilized. But as we see the destabilization of the international system, new powers are rising. China is rising, India is rising, Europe is declining. America's relative influence and relative power is also reducing, especially with the speed with which China is reducing not only the economic gap between the US and China, but also the military gap. It is possible now that in sheer numbers, China has a bigger navy than the United States, which is the United States' main instrument for projecting power overseas. So as we witness a system which has become more unstable, lots and lots of geopolitical events are happening, often surprising even veteran observers. So as we go forward, the issues that I want to cover is a bit of interesting developments with regards to Israel and Palestine, and the role of United Arab Emirates in and the role of United Arab Emirates uh, uh, in this issue, and then after that we will talk about China, India, and the alleged U-turn made by President Donald Trump with regards to India-US relations. We will also talk a little bit about North Korea. If time we will talk about North Korea if time permits. And so those are the issues that I am thinking of at the moment. So let's begin with what's happening with Palestine this week. Uh, there are lots and lots of developments. There was a vote in the United Nations to perhaps shift a part of the UN General Assembly, which is scheduled for September from, I think, 9th to 22nd. This is an annual UN General Assembly meeting where usually heads of states from nearly all countries come to the United States and participate in a general debate about various issues, and new directions are set for the UN, broadly speaking. This is an important event because many voices which are often sidelined in global politics get to hear this. And get to hear voices of other leaders who are not really on the global stage. So the developments are that some countries in Europe completely fed up with the genocide in Gaza that Israel is committing, and the mass protests that are taking place across Europe and Australia. In fact, there are protests even in the United States, not so much now because Trump is basically destroyed freedom of speech and freedom of expression on this issue in this country. But still, there are protests taking place, even in the US, in many parts. And even in Israel, there are protests against the violence. In Gaza, the only country where there is no protest actually seems to be India. But nevertheless, under pressure, European governments have announced that they are going to recognize Palestine. Donald Trump and his administration, which talks a lot about America first, but usually acts as if Israel first is its foreign policy, decided not to issue visas to Palestinian leadership. And as a result of that, the Palestinian president is unable to come to the UN General Assembly in New York. So it was in that context that actually the vote in the UN apparently was 152 to 2. But it's not very clear whether which section of the General Assembly will be held in Geneva and which will be held in New York. I've even spent some time on the UN website and there is no clarity. And the mainstream media, both in Europe and the US, are not covering this issue at all. And so the sources that are available on this issue are less than reliable. So keep that in mind, that what we know for sure is that the US has uh, basically blocked the Palestinian leadership from coming to the UN General Assembly. This is actually in violation of the agreement with regards to the UN Center. The US is obligated to issue visas to all affiliated members of the United Nations for this. So the US is basically breaking its own commitments, and so a kind of violation of international norms and international law in doing so. But when it comes to Israel, it's all about illegal activities, from occupation to expansion of settlements to committing genocide. In fact, there are arrest warrants issued for the international criminal Netanyahu, but he keeps coming in and going out of the United States as if there is no problem, because the US doesn't respect international law at all, at least on this issue. Anyway, these are the countries in Europe which have announced that they will be recognizing uh, not just European, but Australia is also part of it, who are going to be recognizing the Palestinian state. Now, mind you, many countries in the world have already done so more than 20, 30 years ago. India, when it was governed by the Congress party, recognized Palestine as an independent state in the 1980s. In fact, India was the first non-Arab, non-Muslim country to do so. Uh, Anyway, so France, UK are more or less scheduled to recognize it. Canada has added a condition. I don't know whether it will recognize it or not, because the demilitarization of Hamas is not possible before the end of this month. Malta also plans to recognize the Palestine during the General Assembly in September. I guess the president, when he speaks, the leader of Malta, he will make that announcement. Australia has also but Australia also has some conditions, and so I don't understand what the point is. It's like saying that I'm going to recognize Palestine in September, but if Mars and Venus change their orbits, uh, we know that's not going to happen. So what is the point of making this announcement? Do they think that their own citizens are stupid and ignorant and uninformed? So this is what happens when leaders are stuck between the populace, their own population's demands, and the money that they take from Israeli lobbies in Europe as well as in most Western countries. Anyway, Belgium has not only announced that it's going to recognize Palestine, but it proposes to impose sanctions on Israel. There are other European countries which have done so recently, like Spain, Norway, and Ireland. So this is the development that is going on. But the more interesting development with regards to Palestine and Gaza was when Netanyahu announced that he is planning to basically annex many parts, if not all, of West Bank. And so there was going to be this uh, an attempt by, shall we say, uh, but he was arranging a cabinet meeting, essentially, in which he was going to announce the annexation of West Bank. But as they went forward, the United Arab Emirates really stepped up and issued a warning, basically. So to me, that was a very interesting development. And so as you can see here, Israel was about to annex the West Bank or major parts of it. It's not clear, I guess, what it would annex would have come out of the of that cabinet meeting. And then the United Arab Emirates basically warned, saying that this would be the end of regional integration of Israel. This would perhaps weaken the Abrahamic Accords. And so basically, under warning from United Arab Emirates, it is quite shameful that other members of the Abrahamic Accords did not fully back UAE on this, especially countries like Morocco and Bahrain, who are also signatories to the Abrahamic Accords. But the pressure from the United Arab Emirates was sufficient for Israel to back off. from annexing West Bank. And so apparently there is some red line that Arab countries are willing to draw, especially the United Arab Emirates, which otherwise often acts as if it is an agent of Israel and the United States. So kudos to United Arab Emirates for at least having some moral backbone. UAE has also been trying very hard to bring about peace and provide alternative ways to managing and governing Gaza in order to end the genocide in Gaza, the mass murdering. But apparently, Israel is not satisfied. It keeps killing hundreds and hundreds of people, mostly children and women, on a daily basis. And as long as the United States continues to support Israel, I think the single most important reason why Israel is able to mass murder people on a daily basis is because of the support it gets from the United States. From Genocide Joe to Donald Trump, there has been unending support, as Biden loved to call it, ironclad support for whatever Israel does. And it was very interesting to see that UAE, when it negotiated this, it had to also put pressure on Mike Huckabee, who was basically completely aligned. Mike Huckabee is US ambassador to Israel, completely aligned with Netanyahu on this issue and constantly keeps invoking Christianity, God, etc., to defend whatever Israel does. So in that sense, we could say that this was a major development. Otherwise, there would have been major consequences if West Bank was also annexed by Israel. We would see what would happen if Israel would have become a full-fledged apartheid state, because then imagine these 2 million or so people who live in the West Bank. If West Bank is annexed, then what will happen to the Palestinians who live there? Will they become citizens of Israel, and will they vote in Israeli elections? I guess Netanyahu would obviously not allow that. So basically, it would be an apartheid state with 2 million people not getting the rights that other citizens of Israel would enjoy. Or, given the support that the United States and West has provided, including India, to Israel, maybe it would start killing people in West Bank, Gaza, like Gaza. So I don't know what Israel's plan was, but for now, it is on hold. Because the United Arab Emirates of all stepped in a hard way. It is quite disappointing to me that even MBS did not back this, even though he has his own initiative at the UN, which involves, in partnership with Macron, to recognize to basically recognize the state of Palestine and put pressure on Israel. So much for the Middle East, and then I want to move forward. The other topics that I would like to cover is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the rise of China, and then India's relations with China, and of course this much touted U-turn by Donald Trump. We will talk about that, and then I will be happy to take your questions and your comments as we go forward. So this is what has happened with China. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO, normally does not get much attention in the West. It got a lot of attention this time primarily because of Prime Minister Modi and Vladimir Putin, and all the photographs and the videos that were coming out of there about the bonhomie between these two, the talk about the resurgence of RIC, Russia, India, China, as a balancer of the basically arrogant and unilaterally acting despotic United States in the international system. So it was covered very widely in the West. For the first time, I think so much attention was paid by the broader media in the US, because essentially the tiff that has been going on between India and the United States. For the last 1 month, the US president has made derogatory tweets about India, imposed 50% tariffs on India, including 25% penalties for buying Russian oil, tried to blame India for the Russia-Ukraine war. So all of this was getting a lot of attention in the Western media, and then SCO happens and India goes there. After 7 years, India's prime minister visits China, and so this photograph of Putin, Modi, and Xi Jinping was projected as a failure of Donald Trump's foreign policy, and that the U.S. had lost India to China. But what is also not missed, at least here in the West, is the rise of China, especially the parade that the Chinese government Xi Jinping hosted to celebrate 80 years of defeat of Japan. And it brought attention to the fact that China also played a massive role in defeating the fascists in 1945. The way the stories are said, the movies are made, the novels written as if it was just the West that defeated the Nazis. In fact, the communist countries like the Soviet Union and China did most of the fighting. So the biggest fights were between Soviet Union and Germany. In the European theater and in the Indo-Pacific region, it was China's fights against Japan. Of course, the US using nuclear weapons against Japan finally ended the Japanese basically ambitions, but nevertheless, China too made a huge sacrifice. Literally millions and millions of Chinese died in the war with Japan. So the pictures coming out of Beijing are very troubling to the West. Clearly, one of the things that has happened is Kim Jong-un has now become an international figure, and he was there standing next to basically Putin and Xi Jinping at the march. So he has now become like, he's no more a pariah, he's part of the non-Western bloc. He has provided soldiers for Russia to fight in Ukraine. North Korean soldiers are dying in Ukraine, and there is constant supply of weapons from North Korea to Russia. So we can see that one of the things that has happened as a result of the SCO is the rise of North Korea, and it's coming and moving towards the center of global politics. Of course, China and the statement that was issued by SCO rejecting and criticizing the bullying attitude of the West and the call for reform and global governance and restoration of law and norms, etc. China now appears to be the alternative to the United States as a leader of the world, a leader that provides stability and also a leader that respects international norms, etc. At least that is the effort made by Xi Jinping, and we will see how that goes going forward. But there were 26 countries who attended the celebration of China's victory over Japan. India did not participate, and I think even Shehbaz Sharif from Pakistan made sure that his photographs did not appear, even though he was there when this was happening. And of course, the SCO was also a very successful SCO, unlike the one that was held in India, which was basically a virtual effort in Zoom. And then the one following that was in Kazakhstan. Yeah, in Kazakhstan, it was not very well covered, as I told you. So this was a big success for both Russia and China, and to some extent also India. And we will see that Donald Trump also responded and reacted to that. He tweeted saying that it is sad to see Russia and India joining with the deep dark China. And so he made these condescending comments about all three of them. So that is one major development that has taken place clearly on the international stage. And then, of course, the big news that probably you're all waiting to hear, the discussion of is what happened with regards to Mr. Donald Trump. So I want to play a quick video, and then after that, I'll be happy to take your questions and maybe also react to some of the comments that you have made.
I always will. I'll always be friends with Modi. He's great. Prime Minister, he's great. I'll always be friends, but I just don't like what he's doing at this particular moment. But India and the United States have a special relationship. There's nothing to worry about. We just have moments on occasion.
So Donald Trump said this with regards to a question that was asked at the White House. And what is interesting is you can see how it was being covered in India. I wanted to to show to you that this has been projected as a U-turn by Donald Trump on everything that he has been done towards the United States. I'm quite surprised at the usage of the word U-turn. Wherever you see, every major Indian newspaper has used this phrase that Donald Trump makes a U-turn on India. Uh, Nobody in the West seems to think so. In the US media, there was no such coverage because Donald Trump has made these kind of threats. So I didn't, one sentence from Donald Trump saying nice things about Modi, and then the whole country in India is like in raptures. Look at the statement. He says, I will always be friends with Modi. He's a great prime minister. And then suddenly everybody in India is like, oh my God, this is so wonderful, so blessed, etc. Donald Trump has made a U-turn. So he has said what everyone is always saying, that India and the United States have a special relationship. There's nothing to worry about. There is enduring strategic partnership with India that has been built over 25 years. But then he says, I don't think we have. President Trump, when asked about his Truth Social post, losing India, that's where he tried to correct himself from his post in the morning in which he said we are losing India to China. I got along very well with Indian Prime Minister. As you know, he was here a couple of months ago. We went to the Rose Garden. But what he did say, and that is more important to know, is that 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 he's currently unhappy with India. And that's the point he made. He's currently unhappy with India with the way the trade negotiations are going on. And let me tell you that the trade negotiations are still ongoing. They are not over yet. Even as we speak, India and the United States are continuing to negotiate on the trade agreement. And the 50% tariffs are two parts, 25% on the Russia oil thing and 25% on the reciprocal tariffs. So if a deal comes through, then that 25% could become 15 easily, maybe even below that, 14 or even 12. If India gets 12% on the reciprocal tariffs, that will be the second best deal after UK, which has 10%. But the negotiations are going on, and we will see. Without India making any further concessions, I don't think things will change. So we have to see what concessions India can make. And as I have said repeatedly, there are lots of places where India can simply cut the tariffs to zero. I don't know why India has tariffs on American cars. There are many things that are manufactured in the US, such as medical equipment. Why is India posting tariffs there in the order of 50, 60%? So those things can be reduced, and India can potentially get a deal with the US without opening its agriculture and its dairy market, which is very vulnerable to the US. So there are about 700 million jobs associated with the primary sector. So the economy, basically, if India opens up its agricultural sector the way, say, Indonesia, Vietnam, and other countries have, with zero tariffs on US products, then of course most Indians will have no jobs in India, clearly, because the biggest provider of jobs in India is the agricultural sector. But I think India could still motivate that. But this whole idea that America has made a U-turn, I completely reject that idea. It's just a one statement that Donald Trump has made. He makes a lot of such comments. He says the same thing about Xi Jinping. He says, I admire Xi Jinping, I respect him, I have very good relations with Xi Jinping. Then he turns around and calls it the deep, dark China, whatever. He says the same things about Putin and then threatens to impose sanctions on Putin the other day. So I think Donald Trump says a lot of things, but what is important is what he really does. And what he has not done is made any U-turn on any of his policies towards India. He's not made a U-turn on the reciprocal tariffs. He has not made a U-turn on the Russia sanctions. He has not made a U-turn on his statements about companies not going and investing in India. There is no such U-turn there. So in terms of the policies that he has made, in terms of issuing visas to students, in terms of H-1Bs, etc., there is absolutely no U-turn at all. So I don't know why the Indian media is doing this, perhaps trying to make Modi look good for the Bihar elections. The Indian media has become completely useless. The mainstream media, they are like cheerleaders for Modi. This is the same media which was bashing China for 3 4 years, and then suddenly the Indian media has made a U-turn on China. The Indian media has completely forgotten the role of China in Operation Sindoor, that China's weapons were aligned with Pakistan, and China's intelligence was working. Everybody in India seems to have got an amnesia, like they have lost their memory about what happened just 3 months ago in May, because Modi is basically trying to suck up to China. And so the entire country now pretends as if nothing is going around. And so now Modi wants the country to think that the US has made a U-turn, so that, you know, his foreign policy is vindicated, and the entire media, without asking even one question as to what aspects of US foreign policy has been reversed by Donald Trump till date. Nothing. Show me. You're welcome to share if there's any foreign policy thing that. On top of that, there are two scary things that are coming. One, which actually the Indian media has reported, and I'm going to share it. This is from the Indian media. So Indian media, this is, you can see this in the Mint also, and it's all over the social media. Is this question, is Trump considering blocking IT outsourcing to India? So there is a lot of talk about keeping American jobs in America and about Indian companies outsourcing. Donald Trump did say in one speech about a month or so ago that he was completely against American companies investing in building factories in China or sending jobs to India. And he said that specifically those two things, that he's very much against American companies building factories in China or sending jobs over to India. He has not taken any step so far. And this comment is coming from Laura Loomer. So Laura Loomer is problematic. So she's a very big voice in the MAGA movement, but she's not in the government. So she's a big MAGA person, but she has done incredible things that nobody outside the government has been so successful except the Israeli lobby in basically controlling American foreign policy. For example, Laura Loomer recently, that's by last week, she was the one who suddenly started campaigning on her Twitter account that Palestinians were coming to America and America was issuing visas to Gazans. And it is after she started tweeting on that, that Marco Rubio announced that he's going to completely cancel all Palestinian visas and block all Gazans, children coming here for treatment, etc. The cruelty of this Trump administration and basically the US administration when it comes to Palestine is just unprecedented. I don't think ever in history has anybody been this cruel, and they are led by people like Laura Loomer. So they stopped all that visas to that. And then she also campaigned against some people who are working in the Trump administration, Trump 2.0's National Security Council. And it's because of her that they say about 150 people from the National Security Council were fired by Donald Trump after Laura Loomer went to the White House and gave a list of people she said were not loyal to Donald Trump. So clearly she has a lot of influence on the White House. And if she's saying that Donald Trump is going to block IT outsourcing to India, we must take it seriously, even though it is not a government policy yet. Either she knows something, so somebody in the Trump administration has leaked it to her that the Trump administration is discussing this possibility, or she has basically she who is lobbying. So keep that in mind, that on the same day that you are talking about America making a U-turn and Modi, sending these tweets, I wanted to share with you Modi's tweet. I deeply appreciate and fully reciprocate President Trump's sentiments and positive assessment of our ties. India and the US have a very positive and forward-looking, comprehensive and global strategic partnership. This is what Modi had to say after Donald Trump said what he said, and you saw that in the video. And the question is, if Donald Trump makes a U-turn, let's say he did make a U-turn, would India make a U-turn? And would India tell Russia and China, go jump? Will India tell BRICS, go jump? I'm now going back to my true love, which is America. So the question suddenly becomes a bigger question to India, because now it's India's choice. If Donald Trump, until yesterday, Donald Trump was pushing India, and India had no choice to go towards China and Russia, and then be at a forum where people like Kim Jong Un, all these authoritarian dictators are standing there. So Narendra Modi, who claims that India is a mother of democracy, is now aligning with Russia and China, these communist countries and authoritarian countries. So, but if Donald Trump has made a U-turn, if that's what Indians think, then will India now make a U-turn and come back to the US? And if India, because it's now India's choice, right? India can go with the US or go with China and Russia. So it is India's choice either to go with the democratic world or to go with the authoritarian world. So it's an interesting thing. I don't think it's a U-turn. India should not pretend as if it's a U-turn. It's just a statement that Donald Trump made. Modi responded, forget about it. If Donald Trump makes policy reversals, changes in the policy going backwards, then you consider that there is a change taking place, and that could happen in the trade negotiations which are happening, where Donald Trump says, okay, we are going to make concessions to India, and we will say, okay, we will be happy if you give us trade, reduce the tariffs in some parts which are not agricultural. If Donald Trump says that and abandons his pursuit to lower the tariffs in the agricultural sector, then you can say that there has been reversal in policies. But coming back to this issue of outsourcing jobs to India, I was looking at this particular thing. This is about a year plus old data, but these are the top 10 companies of the United States who have outsourced job to India. So Accenture is the biggest one. It has 120,000, so 1.2 lakhs people, uh, jobs in India. So if you look at just the top 10 companies, it's about 500,000 jobs, 5 lakh jobs in India. And these are very high profile jobs, high paying jobs. And it's jobs like this which make Hyderabad and Bangalore the prominent IT centers that they are. And so, God forbid, imagine if a large chunk of those jobs are lost. So you will have highly talented, highly capable persons in India without a job. And will they then take lower paying jobs with Indian companies? I don't know. So it's a major issue. Will American companies lose talent? Yes. Will they become less competitive as a result of losing that talent? Yes, indeed. Uh, so I'm not very sure whether the US is going to take this step in such a drastic fashion. But let me also tell you that this administration seems to be taking a wrecking ball to the American economy. There are lots of people who are going to be dying in the US because the big and beautiful bill has cut off healthcare to poor people in this country. I mean, where in the world have you heard that governments give tax cuts to billionaires and cut healthcare to poor people? Only in America, only under Trump. So we are going to see some devastating policies coming forward. So I don't think Indians should unnecessarily get excited. This whole obsession with projecting Modi as somebody who is very special or something completely distorts the reality of the world. So wait and see if there are any changes in the policy before you jump to the conclusions that Donald Trump has made a U-turn. But if Donald Trump has indeed made a U-turn, then the question is, will India make a U-turn too? Or will India reject Donald Trump's U-turn? So if you notice, that is a bigger question. So these are the points that I wanted to discuss. There are also other events taking place, and I don't have the bandwidth to cover all major events. There is one particular issue that somebody did ask about Nepal objecting to an arrangement that China and India have agreed to. This is from Tushar Kansal. This is the first couple. What do you think on Nepal's objection on India-China trade via Lipu Lake Pass? So the Prime Minister of Nepal actually brought this up during the SCO summit. So he was a special guest at the Nepal was a special guest invited to the SCO summit. Nepal is applying to become a member of the SCO, and the Prime Minister of Nepal personally requested to Xi Jinping for his support to become a member of SCO. Probably India is blocking it. And so, in spite of all of that, I mean, he's trying to get support from Xi Jinping. He's objecting to this particular agreement. This is one of the agreements that have been made towards de-escalation and normalization of border issues between India and China. Uh, Nepal claims that it is that is Nepalese sovereignty over that particular pass. So far, there has been no responses from India or China, and I don't think they're going to respect Nepal's request, because, as far as India is concerned, maybe India can say, okay, now that Trump has made a U-turn, maybe India can make a U-turn. I don't know, but the Chinese are not going to really respect the sovereignty of Nepal. They will probably say, okay, we'll invest something bit more. Let us do this trade because we want to normalize relations with India. Because this is important for China to make sure that India is out of the orbit of India. Aligned with the US is a much stronger India. India not aligned with the US is a weaker India, and therefore China prefers that. And if China has to sacrifice Nepal in order to make India weaker, then China will do that. So I think that the Nepalese may have to suffer some some international insults from these two big major neighbors, but I think China will compensate Nepal in some other way. And if the Nepalese are listening, I would recommend that that's what they do, is continue to object to what is happening, register consistently that they have a sovereignty claim over that particular pass, but also signal to China that they will be happy to get some compensatory support, either a guarantee into the SCO summit. Maybe this way they can use this to get India's vote to become member of SCO. We will see how that happens. Okay. Aditya Khadekar, well, the Europeans did impose some sanctions on India, if you know, on the Nayara refinery, which is having trouble even buying oil. I heard that some of their gas stations, they have about 8,000 petrol pumps in India, and there's no petrol available at many of those things because they're not able to buy petrol, and then no one is buying their refined oil either. So Nayara is in some financial trouble also soon. But the US has been putting a lot more pressure on Europe to impose sanctions on India for buying Russian oil. So we will see what happens with that. There's a lot of talk of bonhomie between Europe and India, especially with the German chancellor making all kinds of positive noises towards India. But we will see. The bilateral trade agreement is not real, and if the US puts a lot more pressure, we will see whether Europe is going to resist US pressure, especially now when they are getting closer and closer to sending European troops. Imagine France and Britain want to send 10,000 troops into Ukraine. The Russians will hit them hard if there is no air cover from the US. Putin has said it very clearly that any troops inside Ukraine will be treated as enemy troops. So the Europeans need America very strongly, especially on the Ukraine security issues. And Trump can use that as a leverage and saying, you want me to help Ukraine? Why aren't you helping Ukraine? Let's make sure that India stops buying Russian oil. We'll see what happens. Sometimes the Trump administration forgets what it wants to do. Like they have forgotten about Greenland. They have forgotten about the Panama Canal. I've not heard much or any progress happening on those two fronts. What's happening about Canada becoming a state? I think that Trump has completely dropped. And what is this? Why are you seeking this GoFundMe? I'm going to block this. Anyway. Oh my God. People are objecting to the fact that they can't see the Indian flag. There it is. And we have what we call as For those of you who are Hindi speaking, let me show you a good example of the kind of people who want to become Vishwa Gurus. This is Mr. Bharma. Look at the language, look at his values. These are the true Sanatanis from India. This is how they talk in an academic setting. So I thought I will share that with you. Uh, oh, I don't know how to take it out. And then I will replace that with Ham Saeed, Salam Walaikum Salam. Lost and found. Why don't you speak about what's happening to minorities in Bangladesh? What's happening to minorities in Bangladesh? We have done many shows on that, friend, already. We're not going to keep talking about it nonstop. I'm also not talking about what's happening to minorities in India all the time. Hi, Christopher. Hello, sir. How are you? Christopher is a member of Conversations. Thank you for your support. And he tries to catch as many of these live shows as possible. Hans Saeed has a question, how Pakistan can get investment from USA now? Oh, well, the United States has committed to investing in Pakistan's oil, Pakistan's rare earth materials, etc. So there is a lot of investments coming there. But you have to have a good investment climate, Ham Saeed. If your country is internally destabilized, and so, for example, if you remember all the attacks by the Baluchistanis on Chinese, which really upset the Chinese. So you have to have an environment which is open. First of all, it should be peaceful and stable. So if somebody wants to come in and invest $5 billion to build a factory, they should be sure that, okay, once we build the factory, it will work. We don't have people coming in and blowing the factory up or things like that. So you have to establish stability. That is one key. Pakistan promised China a lot of security, and they could not do that. In fact, China is now providing its own security internally. And then the other issue that we need to understand is that investments in what? So when a country, like if I were to invest, say, in Pakistan, let's say I make some technical product. So the thing that I need to know is, are there workers available, trained workers available? For example, one of the reasons why a lot of countries which are doing China plus one are preferring Vietnam over India is because Vietnam has more trained workers than India. So their labor force is better trained than Indian labor force. So you need a good infrastructure, you need good labor force, labor training, you need stability, and you need local partners too. So for example, if I wanted to make cars, if there is a car manufacturer with whom I can partner in India, in Pakistan, then it becomes. So Pakistan has to focus on this. So far, the Pakistani government is only focused on Kashmir, 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 and nothing else. I have not seen. I mean, I have lots of Pakistani friends, Pakistani American friends. We have lots of professors from Pakistan at the University of Delaware. I have never heard of any investment-related delegation coming from Pakistan to the US seeking investments in various sectors. For example, Pakistan has huge territory, huge desert. They could become big producers of solar electricity. You can have solar farms. There are lots of rich Pakistanis here. One Pakistani owns a football team, I think the Jaguars in North Carolina. Yes, he's a billionaire. He can be investing in Pakistan. So investments require stability, peace, laws which encourage so liberalization of the legal system, infrastructure, and trained labor. Those are the things. So the government needs to invest in those things. The government needs to invest in those things. And I recently watched this show, मैं मन तो नहीं हूँ. I wrote a short review. You can see that in the community section of the channel. And I saw some pictures of Lahore. I think that whole thing is filmed in Lahore, and I was very surprised as to how certain parts of Lahore look developed and have infrastructure, but the rest of the city does not have. So if your big cities are also not ready for an industrialized investment, then you'll have to work on that. So you do need a good minister for investments. Imran Khan tried to do that, but his focus was on non-industrial investment, other kinds. And like he did a pretty good job of raising money for his hospital, but that's very small money. You need 10 times more than that to become industrialized. Labor is cheap. Pakistan per capita is 1,500. It's 1,000 less than India and Bangladesh. So you can compete with India and Pakistan favorably with lower salaries in terms of worker labor. Cost of labor will be cheaper, but you don't have the infrastructure that Bangladesh and India have at the moment. Uh, Inshallah, I'm Saeed. My father was in the military in India. He worked in the military engineering services. So when if I apply for visa in to go to Pakistan, that becomes an issue. So we'll see. Dinesh, sir, good evening from India. My question is whether in near future Pakistan with its long-range missiles and nukes is poised to confront. Oh my God, Dinesh has a very difficult question to ask. Look, Pakistan did nothing right now and is doing nothing with Gaza. So there's a genocide going on. Uh, when we say that 63,000 Palestinian Gazans have been killed, what we mean is we know for sure 63,000. So, for example, let us say that you are cleaning a building and you find 25 legs. Then you don't say that 12 and a half people died or 25 people died. Let's say they're all 25 right legs. Then you can say that 25 people died, but you don't say that because it's quite possible that they lost a leg and they are still alive somewhere in the debris. Until a person is fully recovered the body and they are identified, until then they're not counted as dead. So Harvard University, some Israeli scholars and some universities here have estimated that over 377,000 Palestinians have died. That's why the population of Gaza has gone from 2.2 million to 1.8 million, roughly close to 400,000 people. And Pakistan has done absolutely nothing, just nothing on this issue. So it has nuclear weapons, it has lots of weapons, it has some clout. Asim Munir is supposedly now good friends with Donald Trump. It's not even standing with the Arab countries. Like, for example, when United Arab Emirates issued this warning to Israel saying that if you annex West Bank, we will basically dismantle the Abrahamic Accords. Pakistan could have supported United Arab Emirates. It did not. So, so the likelihood of Pakistan being of help to anybody, uh, I doubt it at all. In fact, it has very bad relations. In the last 2 or 3 years, Pakistan had a military exchange with Iran. Iran bombed Pakistan, Pakistan bombed Iran, and it was nearly on the verge of war with Afghanistan. It's so ridiculous. Islamic Republic of Pakistan with Islamic Republic of Iran, and then Islamic Republic of Pakistan with Islamic Emirates of Afghanistan. They are fighting. So the idea of Pakistan's foreign policy influenced by Islamic solidarity, I have not seen that except in OIC, which just talks. So I don't know. Pakistan needs to first become economically strong, politically stable. But Pakistan is researching long-range missiles, which the Americans were unhappy with. And it is because of those long-range missiles, Dinesh, that Joe Biden had made the statement that Pakistan is the most dangerous country in the world because it has nuclear weapons and it has. But if it does get those long-range missiles, right now Pakistan has the capacity to hit India anywhere it wants. So its intermediate range ballistic missiles can hit Calcutta. Uh, so why is it building longer range missiles? To hit Europe, to hit the US, to hit Israel? I don't know. Uh, Ridhima, Ridhima has an interesting question. Look at this. So she's saying that I've been watching your religious sermons. They are very interesting. Does akhlaq, means good manners? The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that he was sent to perfect manners, not include not getting angry when talking about Israel and Modi. Anger is forbidden in Islam. It's clearly anger is haram. But I'm not angry. I'm not angry with Israel or Modi. I'm outraged. That is different. I'm outraged on moral grounds. If Israel was not committing the genocide in Gaza, I would not be angry at all. And with Modi, I think he's a hypocrite. He tells Russia that this is not an era of war, but he never tells Netanyahu this is not an era of war, this is not an era of genocide. He doesn't say that. Look at his recent speech before the 2024 elections. What did his administration brag about? Not growth rates, not GDP growth rates. They just bragged about 370 and going after the Waqf board and talked about Ayodhya and Babri Masjid. These are their achievements. All the harm that they have done to Muslims in India, they brag about it. So that's why I'm outraged. Look at Umar Khalid. Ridima, you should Google Umar Khalid. 5 years and he hasn't got bail. You've been arrested for a crime. Prosecute the man and send him to jail if you find him guilty. You're not prosecuting him and you're not applying bail. And then there are lots and lots of Hindus who have even threatened genocide who are out. So, yes, I'm outraged. And outrage comes from inability or unwillingness to tolerate injustice. That is not anger. I hope you see the distinction. Hi, Lakshmi. Lakshmi is also a member of Conversations. Please join the channel. It's not expensive. It just gives me the opportunity to interact and get feedback from members of the community. So I meet people on Zoom. I will be having the Zoom meeting soon, maybe probably in less than 10 days for new members and old members. And I get a lot of feedback and I get to know lots of things. I have members from Orissa, I have members from all over the world, actually. Some from Toronto, some from Texas, some from Australia. Milin says, Khan Chacha, why tie in summer? I don't know. My house is at 69 degrees all the time. 18, 19 degrees centigrade is the house. So this is not hot. In fact, there are such heavy lights also I'm using. Even then, I'm not feeling hot. So that's why I wear tie. I'm wearing a tie out of respect for you guys. You know, we dress formally as a respect for the occasion. Since I'm trying to do this regularly, geopolitics this week on Sunday, I've chosen this particular time because it's night in India, but not too late, and it's daytime in the West. So on my global channel, which is blocked in India, people in the US, Australia. Now the biggest viewers are from US, and then people from Bangladesh, Pakistan, from Australia, Nepal. These are the countries from where I get a lot of viewers. So many of them are in the West, especially US, UK, Canada. So this is a good time. So I'm trying to be formal for you guys. Oh, Lakshmi. So there are 2 or 3 things happening. So for example, if you watch the election in New York, Democratic Party's nomination was won by Mamdani, Zohran Mamdani. If it was anybody else, like if he was Jewish, then all these people, Schumer, etc., would have supported him right away. So far, Schumer has not endorsed him. He's the leader of the Democratic Party in the Senate. Hakeem Jeffries has not endorsed him. And the people who are fighting him are Democrats. Eric Adams is a Democrat. Kumo is also a Democrat. And so these guys are all collaborating with Donald Trump. So you can see that the Democratic Party in New York has become Israel first and is attacking its own people, which is making young Democrats very, very angry and upset. Justice Democrats, Social Democrats. So today and yesterday, Bernie Sanders has been campaigning on the streets with Zohran Mamdani, and other Democrats are attacking him. So as it is, they're upset. The leaders of the Democratic Party have taken literally millions of dollars. If you go to, just Google this, Lakshmi, opensecrets.org. I'm going to write it down here in this. opensecrets.org. If you go to opensecrets.org, or in fact, the way you Google is opensecrets.org : big receivers of Israeli lobby money. and they will give you a list of all the Democrats. Starts with uh, um, Joe Biden and the millions of dollars that they have taken from the Israeli lobby. So the Democratic Party's leadership is sold out to the tech companies, sold out to the Israeli lobby and the medical health insurance lobbies and the lawyers' lobbies. So if you look at the point of view of the masses, like 92% of Democrats are against US support for Israel. And more than 90% of all Democrats, elected Democrats, are for Israel. US, Kamala Harris lost Michigan because of this issue. I want to take some credit for it. I had Jill Stein on the show. She spoke for 1 hour on my show. Jill Stein is a third-party candidate. She took a lot of votes away from critical sections. So Rashida Tlaib is a Democrat of Palestinian origin in Michigan. She got 75% of the vote, and in the same constituency in which this Democrat for Congress got 75% of the vote, Donald Trump got 75% of the vote. So all of these Democrats went and voted for Donald Trump as punishment for the Democrats. And two things have happened. One, that Democrats are now 5 million voters behind the Republicans in registering new voters for the 2026 election, and nobody's giving money to the Democrats. I'm not going to give money to the Democrats if they try to sabotage Mamdani. And I will campaign from the elections in November. From October, I'll start hammering that do not give money to Democrats. Let the Israelis give them money. Let the pro-Israeli billionaires give whatever money, and let the Democrats go and represent Israel in American Parliament. But we are not going to give money to the Democrats. We're not going to vote for Democrats. And so even though people hate what Republicans are, even the Republicans hate Republicans right now. Every time the Republicans are going to town hall meetings, they are being booed. So it's a funny thing. Right now, ordinary Americans hate both the parties. I'm not going to vote Republican. I will just not vote for Democrats. I will not give money to Democrats. I may not even vote. My vote will be through my YouTube channel. So yes, you can see me getting angry. I should not, Ridhima, sorry. But yes, people are very upset with the Democratic Party. Plus, Donald Trump has added 5 seats in Texas, so he might still hold on to the House. The question is whether they will be able to keep the Senate or not. Any more interesting questions? AK has a question. Which secret of our Vishwa Guru does Trump have? Is Trump blackmailing? This is a very interesting question. I usually don't like to go into this kind of questions because if there is no open source, then I cannot. So OSINT is my goal. OSINT means open source intelligence, which is available to you and to me. Or the extra thing that I have are friends that I know who work in governments or who were formerly in the government. So every time I interview people or talk to people, a lot of people talk to me without agreeing to come on the show, but they still talk to me. So I get a little bit extra from what you are getting from newspapers and the media. But what I think is that there is some rumors going on in India, not so much in the US, with the Adani issue. That Donald Trump, the government is putting a lot of pressure through Adani and Adani's sources and his resources. He might be blocked from the New York Stock Exchange. There is already an arrest warrant for him, sort of. There might be pressure to arrest him, etc. Even though Donald Trump doesn't like that particular law, he says that the law which prevents Americans from bribing people overseas is not good for Americans because Chinese are bribing and getting contracts in foreign countries and Americans are not able to do so. So that's why he doesn't want to prosecute anybody based on that law. And he told Pam Bondi to not push forward the case, not to drop the cases, but not to move. So all the cases that invite foreign bribing, under which Adani is also charged, are on hold. So that is one thing that people talk about. The other thing is that, see, Modi tries to not talk about controversial things. Send me a tweet about Manipur from Modi. You won't be able to show him. He hasn't been to Manipur. He doesn't want to have photographs. He didn't even go to Pahalgam. He went to Bihar after Pahalgams. So he does these kind of things so that the opposition don't get photos to share for their campaigns, etc. I don't think he has any secrets on Modi. Modi, but I think he has more pressure points that he can do. And we will see this as we go forward. If the 50% tariff stays in place, it is going to hurt Indian economy significantly, no matter what people tell you right now. And there is an interesting article in the Indian Express. I forget the name, Bala Subramaniam or someone wrote a piece talking about how the recent data on the first quarter may not be accurate. So there are some issues with the Indian economy. It's not generating jobs at all. No new jobs. Most of the jobs are in agricultural sector. You have to go to the village to get a job. 24% of educated Indian youth are jobless. 24% Indian youth are jobless, and 75% educated women are jobless in India. It's a big, big crisis. And so if Trump, stops outsourcing, etc., because part of it is going to happen anyway because of AI. Many jobs in India will be lost, sadly, in the US and everywhere in the world because of AI. So, so I think Trump has some pressure points, and Modi is therefore out of. He does not want to aggravate Trump more. That's why he's quiet. And I think it's a good policy. If Rahul Gandhi was prime minister, also, I think he would have kept his mouth shut and not directly contradicted Donald Trump, because you don't want the guy to get angry. He's a bit, you know, crazy to say the least. Uh, Lakshmi has an interesting question. Tamil Nadu government has secured investments from UK and about 7,000 for Germany, couple of jobs, and Dr. Khan, do you think state? Oh, so my friend Amirullah Khan, you saw me interview him and Santosh Mehrotra just 2 days ago about India's first quarter and the tariffs. So Amir gave a brilliant talk at the University of Delaware. And so he let me see if I can, well, it's not easy for me to pull his. So in that, he showed a map of India. So if you look at the map, the states which export to America are the southern states. Tamil Nadu, where all the iPhones are made, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Karnataka, and a little bit of Andhra Pradesh are the states which export Gujarat and Maharashtra. These are the 6 states where the most of exports to the US come from. And where is the Hindutva belt? BJP, yes, BJP controls Gujarat and because of the diamonds, etc., and Maharashtra. But the real power is UP, Bihar, and all of these places, right? The entire central. They don't export anything to the US. So he was saying that they don't care what happens with the US tariffs. Adityanath Yogi is not worried about what Trump says or does. But Tamil Nadu Stalin is, because if Trump imposes 25% tariffs on iPhones, then boop, what will happen to the jobs in that? So there is a concept that I'm going to type in the bottom, Lakshmi. You should Google that. It's called para-diplomacy. Para-diplomacy. In fact, about 2 months ago, I did a show, 2.5 months ago, about Telangana and para-diplomacy, because the chief minister of Telangana, Revant Reddy, went on a trip to Japan in search of investments. So the states, what can the states do to become more attractive, right? They can invest in education. The state have the prerogative. It doesn't matter what the national policy on education is. If Tamil Nadu, Telangana, and Karnataka and Andhra, all these BJP Mukt states, if they say, look, focus on English, we should have more and more people studying English, okay? And then we make sure that we, like, for example, let us say that you increase school timing. I hope somebody from the government is listening in India. If you can increase school time by 2 hours, they'll go and play cricket anyway. Let them stay back, especially the high school, 11th and 12th grade students in government schools, or 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Stay back for an hour or two and learn skills. not reading history, no, just skills, how to do soldering, how to run lathe machines, and this is what the foreign companies need, right? Workers who have skills. Yes, you can apply for IIT. If you get, you go, but if you don't and you have skills, you go work for the factory that iPhone just set up, that Apple just set up. So I think that is what the states can do. They can make their population skillful, ready for the global market, and build the infrastructure, build the roads, build the railways, build the seaports that are that people will like. You know, my university has its own railway station. We have our own railway station, and it's like that. You have to have your own infrastructure. Uh, so if you are competing for investments, and then okay, Modi says, I will give subsidy to somebody who will come and manufacture. That person will come to India, take a tour of India, and say, oh, there's nothing in North India, but when I go to the South, there are people who speak English, there are people who know skills already. I don't even have to train them, and the infrastructure is great. Well, I'll invest here. That's what happens. And Tamil Nadu has been the best state in India. Gujarat gets a lot of money with the help of Modi. So if you remember, every time there's a big thing comes in, and the center directs, like Tata's chip manufacturing was sent to their gift city is in Gujarat. But otherwise, the states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Telangana largely because of Chandrababu Naidu, have really invested in infrastructure to make it welcome. So the states have to have their own economic foreign policy. It's called para-diplomacy. You can see in Mexico, some provinces also do that. Good question, Lakshmi. This is the best question of the day, MVP. AK has an interesting question, you know, and he's talking about education. I talk a lot to American elected officials, and I invite them a lot. And since I'm now more and more focused on foreign policy, etc., the Congress people are not ready to talk about. Very few members of the Congress can talk on foreign policy issues because they're so focused on local issues. But the senators are. But when you talk to an American elected official, especially those who have been in power for a few years, they are so well informed about the specific policies that they are concerned with. But when I deal with politicians and others and listen to speeches from other countries, even in India, there are very few people who talk specifically about policy issues. And so it's always politics, politics, politics. So coming and saying, oh, we are going to get rid of Guspitias in Bengal, that is politics. But trying to explain to you why the youth unemployment rate is at 24% and what the government is doing specifically to make sure that the youth are employed. That is policy discussion, and how many of our ministers in India can do that? That is the question that people need to keep in mind when they vote for people, you know. Okay, Sultan. No, it's an interesting question. Chef Altaf, thank you very much for your positive comment. AK also made an interesting comment. There is a Rohan Verma. Do you think, oh, I have to share it. Thank you for your gift. Do you think America is just posturing regarding Pakistan to India? Because we have heard this many times that oil is there, nothing ever comes out. China withdraws 60 billion from CP. So this is the issue with Pakistani natural resources. Look, Pakistan has been in very close collaboration and cooperation with China, and as you yourself point out, China has invested more than $60 billion already in Pakistan and has committed to expanding CPEC into Afghanistan. If the Chinese had any idea that Pakistan had oil or any other critical elements, then they would have been ahead of the US in getting it. So What is Donald Trump talking about? I really don't know. I don't think there is oil in Pakistan. There may be some rare earth materials, but before you get to them, we probably be 5, 6 years from now. So far, no company has come forward. It's not the US government which is going to go and do this, search for them and invest there. It'll have to come from some private firms from the US. So far, none of that is coming into Pakistan. So why is Donald Trump doing that? So Donald Trump needs Pakistan for geopolitical reasons. One is stabilizing Afghanistan and also dealing with Iran. So there's a lot of talk. Listen to Praveen Sahni in India, and he was making this argument that perhaps Pakistan is going to become an instrument for the US to deal with Iran. There's a lot of talk that when Asim Munir met with Donald Trump, he advised Donald Trump not to pursue regime change in Iran. It will be futile, it will backfire. And apparently, Donald Trump was very impressed with Asim Munir, and he decided to, to take Asim Munir's advice against Netanyahu's advice, who's continuing to push for regime change in Iran. So for some reason, Donald Trump now, or for that reason actually, Donald Trump thinks he has an option in Iran, in Pakistan with dealing. So is the same old reason for importance. I also think that Donald Trump thinks that he can troll India by saying positive things about Pakistan. But you must also remember that it was Donald Trump who stopped all aid to Pakistan in his first term, and until then, Pakistan had received over $33 billion in aid. But then Donald Trump came back and he was very happy that Pakistan helped him find the terrorist who had blown up the Kabul airport. So Pakistan has suddenly become a partner in counterterrorism. India has been trying to blame Pakistan as a supporter of terrorism and trying to make them pariah. The exact opposite has happened. It has become an ally of the US in counterterrorism. So, so I think that is key. But plus, Pakistan has got a good deal now with 19% tariff rate. So I think the Pakistan US trade is just $7 billion. So that might increase in the next few years. But Pakistan is, I think, a geopolitical partner, and it is also uh, neither has China tried to block US-Pakistan relations, nor has US tried to block Pakistan-China relations. It is very interesting that Pakistan is able to have relations with both the superpowers. And I think the reason for that is because neither the US nor China sees Pakistan as a threat to their power, whereas China sees India as a threat to China, and US also sees India as a threat because of its alignment with BRICS and its alignment with de-dollarization tactics and the large size of the Indian economy. That's why I think America cares if India goes close to China, and China cares if India goes close to the US. But neither cares where Pakistan is, because they both don't see Pakistan as a competitor, as a peer competitor. I think that's the difference. I hope that kind of explains somewhat. Okay, any more questions? Uh, all right, so we have gone well over the time. And so Pawan, okay, thank you for your gift. Do you have a question, Pawan? No, thank you. Thank you for your support, Pawan. Shailendra Nagpal, sir, what you foresee about India's future? About 2047. So there's a question here about Shailendra Nagpal's question about 2047. He's referring to the goal set by Prime Minister Modi, Viksit Bharat 2047. Let me tell you, I met Revant Reddy in April very briefly for like a few minutes briefly. I was just introduced to him. And so I gave him an advice. I said, I'll give you a line that you can use. He has not used it yet. Maybe he forgot, maybe he didn't get it. Maybe my accent, he missed it. But anyway, my line was, this is what I told him. that you can say whether Bharat becomes Viksit or not by 2047, Telangana can become Viksit by 2040. So what I'm trying to say is that there are many Indias. There is an India called Bihar, whose per capita GDP is $800 per year. And then there is a Telangana India, whose GDP per capita is 5,200, 6 times or more. So Telangana is 6 times richer than Bihar. Gujarat and Maharashtra are 5 times richer than Bihar. Telangana, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu are many times richer than the north of India. They are all 4 times richer than UP. So some parts of India will reach the goal of becoming a developed country even before 2047. And we are assuming that no big politics will happen, no major civil war, God forbid, no genocide of killing Muslims in large numbers and getting sanctions from international countries, etc. Nothing like that disastrous. As country is today just going the same way, then I can tell you that some parts of India, and I can name the states: Telangana, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Himachal Pradesh, Goa, and Sikkim, and New Delhi. These will become developed and have a per capita of close to $20,000 by 2045, before 2047. What is going to bring them down? The whole country on an average are UP, Jharkhand, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, West Bengal, Assam. These are not doing very well. So some parts of India will become developed by 2047, and maybe the rest by 2060, maybe 2060, 2065, if things go well. But no war with China, not another major war with Pakistan, no big sanctions from the West. We need all of that to happen, and correct investments. India really needs to invest properly in education. I heard a story which is very scary. I met a kid who's an engineer who went to an engineering college. I'm not going to name the state or the individual or anything. He went to an engineering college. He passed an entrance exam and went to a private engineering college and found out that there were no professors, no labs, and nobody was attending classes. So he went to the principal, apparently, and told the principal, let me run the college. I'm not kidding. This first year kid said, let me run the college. And apparently, he went and found teachers to come and teach in that college. He went and found students, and he went and found. And then, as he reached a point of graduation, he realized that there is no proper management. And so he's telling the same people to sell. Now, this kid is now in the US, and I met him in Chicago at a conference recently. I was horrified to hear. I mean, how can you have an engineering college without laboratories and without decent professors? 95% of faculty at University of Delaware are professors who have PhDs. That's how you need educational institute. So development is about education. It's about building infrastructure. Look at what happens to Bangalore in the rains. I'm looking at some of the pictures that is coming. So you're building an infrastructure, but that infrastructure is not really adequate or world class. I'm going to tell you a small story. When I was in college in Georgetown, I had a cat called Buttons, and the cat disappeared one day. So we hired a detective. I had $800 saved at that time, and we spent all of it trying to find my cat. My wife used to go out in the sun searching for the cat. Eventually, that detective started bringing cats which looked exactly like our cat but was not ours. So I asked him, where are you catching these cats from? He said, from under the road. I said, what do you mean? So when you look at our roads, we have all these draining system, and there are huge tunnels under the roads. So the moment it rains and the snow falls and the snow melts, all the water is gone. within like instantly. Last night I had terrible rainfalls here for 2 hours, heavy thunderstorms, and then there's no water on the road after. So the infrastructure, when you design, you have to think long term. So that is not happening. I can see that even in big cities like Bangalore, which is supposedly fully IT, the headquarters of next to Seattle, the most powerful city when it comes to IT, they are not doing good city planning, etc. So development is important, and focus on HDI. Look at this index. Google what is HDI, Human Development Index. It was developed by a Pakistani and an Indian, Amartya Sen and Mehboob al Haq. They came up with this called human development. That is what we need to focus on, and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. I have gone over close to 1 hour 20 minutes. I thank you all for your support. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, make sure you share this with your socio-political network, and everybody, thank you for all the interesting comments and questions. Until next time, I'm your host Muqtada Khan. Take care. Bye.